Hey, so it's early Sunday morning at my warehouse nursery, and today I thought it'd be fun to talk about some branch cutters. So I got a couple branch cutters right here. I've gotten some in different materials. I got carbon steel right here, and I've got a stainless steel one as well. And I thought it'd be fun to sort of discuss, why you should have concave branch cutters, why they're important when you're doing bonsai, and sort of give you a guide on maybe which one to choose when you're shopping for one. Alright, so the main purpose in why you need a concave branch cutter is so that you can cut heavy branches. So shears, will help you cut smaller branches, like secondary branches, maybe some foliage. But when it comes down to making a big cut on a big branch, say you want to remove something that's larger, then you'll need to move on to something like a concave branch cutter. And the concave branch cutter is just that. It's a branch cutter, and it's got concave shape to help you sort of cut through branches with little to no effort. So I've got here, spread out on my little turntable right here, a couple different concave branch cutters of different brands, and they're using different materials, and they're made in either Japan or China. So the first one is this made in China carbon steel one right here, and this one's the one that you go find you'll go find this one easily. They go very affordable. Usually they'll range around $20 to $25, and these ones are they will accomplish exactly what you need. They'll be able to make a cut exactly where you want it. That's why it's shaped like this, so you can get right up against the branch and cut flush. You can see that right now, you can cut flush right against that. The downside to it is that since they're a little bit cheaper, the quality isn't going to be as good. If you go like this, when you first get them, they're going to be a little stiff, but they do loosen up over time. What typically happens is this joint right here, where they're joined together, will start to sort of break away, and then it'll start to get loose. But that takes sort of a lot of time, and that's after a lot of uses. But that doesn't mean that they're bad. I mean, if you're just starting out and you're looking for an affordable branch cutter, the made in China carbon steel ones are good to go. You can still cut through the branches, and if you're only using them once in a while, you've got maybe you've got like three trees, and you're cutting through just a branch here and there, then these might be the way to go. Another downside to the carbon steel ones is that they will rust if you leave them outside. So if you're kind of aware of whether or not you're going to keep them, maintained or keep them inside, you might want to stay away from some of these carbon steel tools. And then so I've got my I got my carbon steel made in China tool right here. And then if you move up and you want to go to stainless, you've got this one too. And what I've got here is a Ryuga concave branch cutter that sort of has a spherical knob cutter. You can see the shape right there. It's a little different because you can sort of accomplish some things that a knob cutter would. Not exactly the things that a knob cutter could do, but at least it gives you a little bit more options because of that spherical shape right there. The nice thing about a stainless steel tool is that they won't rust. So if you leave them out, if you've got sprinklers going on, and sometimes you leave your tools out, these won't rust. So you can leave them out in the rain, and they'll work just as good as when the day before rain. Now moving up, so I've got my carbon steel made in China, my stainless steel made in China. Both good tools if you're just starting out. These are going to be a little bit more expensive than these guys, but I think that if you're not exactly sure where you go place them, stainless steel is probably the way to go. And then we're moving up to our made in Japan carbon steel tools. Okay, so now you've got this. I've got one. This is actually part of my toolkit. This is a Shisei branch cutter, and I've got two sizes here. Right here, I've got my little one and then the gigantic one. And this is going to be the flush one as well. It's not going to be spherical. These tools, I've been using these every single day, constantly, and you can kind of hear it. Still got a good point right there, or still got a good point. It still cuts perfectly flush. You can see that it's exactly lined up perfectly still. So I use these guys every day, and the wear is kind of nice. See, I've left these out, yes, in the rain maybe once, and if you use some oil, you can get it off. So it's not the end of the world if you leave these out, but you just gotta make sure you treat them right away. I probably left them out in the rain for maybe just an hour before I realized that it was raining, and then I brought them back in. So Shisei branch cutter, this guy, and then when I have my huge branches that I need to cut, I'll bring out this one right here, and I'll use this to cut branches that are maybe about 2.5 inches in diameter, about 2.5 inches in diameter, and I'll be able to cut through it with this guy with no problem. And then lastly, I've got this new brand that I'm carrying. It's the Yagimitsu tool, and I've been just using this just for a few days, and this is a great tool. This one probably I'm more used to, the Shisei one, just because I've had it for so long. But this made in Japan carbon steel Yagimitsu tool it feels just as good. It might end up, at some point, it depends on how much use I get out of this one, but this one should last forever. But so far I've been kind of using this one a lot. It's got a really good point. It lines up really nice right there. It's really flush, and then you can hear it. If you can hear that, it's very solid. So the Yagimitsu branch cutter, I've got these available, and these ones are very good. I've actually enjoyed these a lot so far. So which one do you choose? I mean, you've got all these tools, at least all these brands, all these manufacturers, and all these different components, and you've got these different materials. Which one do you end up choosing? Well, when you're first starting out, the made in China carbon steel tools are actually really useful. You can see that's kind of stiff. It loosens up over time, but they still will cut the branch with no problem. I mean, if you drop them, yeah, they might, if you drop them from a certain height, they might, not withstand it. But for the most part, they're going to do what you need. So if you're on a budget, the made in China carbon steel tools are actually a pretty good bet. And then from there, you've got to sort of weigh, in terms of cost, maybe you're jumping up about $40 from this guy right here. Is you've got to make a bet whether or not you're going to go stainless steel, or you're going to choose made in Japan, and that's sort of where you got to make your decision. If you know you're going to take care of your tools, I definitely go for the carbon steel ones. They feel a lot stronger. They're a lot more durable in terms of power, but in terms of water resistance, it's going to be the stainless steel one. And then lastly, you've got sizes. So you got this one, which is a typical 8-inch. I think this is 11.5. So you've got sizes of branch cutters, and I think that if you're just starting out with one, you probably only need the 8-inch one. You can use a different technique for cutting the branch for cutting bigger branches with this one. As long as you use the correct technique, you can still cut big branches with this one, just as you would with this one. So having the smaller one doesn't mean that you're limited on some branches. I mean, if you got a branch that's going to be about 3 or 4 inches thick in diameter, you might just want to just break out a saw and cut it with the saw. But if you've got a smaller branch or something around 1 to 2, then you can definitely use the 8-inch. Every single tool, no matter the manufacturer, even if you got a very high quality brand, if you misuse your tool, there's a high likelihood that you're going to break it. Sometimes that doesn't have to do with the quality. If I'm going in here with, say, my made in Japan carbon steel tool right here, this Yagimitsu tool, and I go and try to cut a rock or something like that, it's going to damage the tool. It's just not going to do it. It's not made to do that, so you're going to end up damaging it. It's going to damage both the made in Japan carbon steel and the made in China carbon steel. So make sure that you have some expectations of your tools to not get carried away with it and try to cut things that you're not supposed to. Another thing is if you drop them, say you drop them from really high, there's a chance that you might, this might get misaligned a little bit. So you want to take care of your tools. For the most part, they're going to, the different quality levels on the tools are going to impact the performance for what it's sort of made for. So if it's made to cut branches, that the performance levels are going to sort of improve as you go up in quality. So when you start using these, let me bring out my Shisei one here because it's my favorite. If you start using these, when you make the cut on the branch, you can go this right here, that's like that sort of perfect, flat point right there, will let you go flush with the branch exactly. So you can cut it so you can't see the branch jutting out at all. You can go right up against it, and sort of this angle that it is at, this angle here, will help you maneuver in through branches and get into the sort of exactly where the branch comes out from the trunk, and you'll be able to cut it with this easily. Okay, so I just grabbed this tree that I just repaired a little bit, but I wanted to demonstrate quickly what you can do with the branch cutters. I've got it right here, okay? I've got a branch right here that's coming off right here. See this guy right here? What you can do with the branch cutters, this is how you use it, is you can come up flush on it like this. Let me get a better angle. You can come up flush right there, right up against it. See it? And that's sort of the shape that sort of benefits you. Got that concave gadget, and you can cut flush with it. And once you make that cut, it'll be flush right there. Yeah, you can go in with the knob cutter and make it a little bit smoother, but with that, with the angle of this and the shape of this concave branch cutter, you can make that cut really easily. Now for this bigger branch, I could break out the bigger tool. So if you've got a bigger concave branch cutter, you can use this to cut that whole branch off in one shot. If you don't have this, you can use your branch cutter again, the 8-inch. Now of course you can use your made in China carbon steel, use your stainless steel, whichever one you want. Right now for this one, I'm just going to demonstrate with my favorite tool, the Shisei carbon steel. And you can do 2 cuts. Now this one, you could probably do it in 1 cut. You can see how it fits around the whole thing. But if you're not exactly sure, you can do it with 2 cuts. You can do one diagonal cut like there. Okay, that cuts off the bottom part like this, like that. Okay, and then you do another one from the top at an angle, and you create this little V, and you've got that. You can cut it with 2. So basically, you do 1 cut, which takes off the bottom half, and then you do the other cut off the top, which takes off the top. And then that's how you sort of cut a bigger branch with just the smaller branch cutter. Now, of course, if you've got the big one, you can just go around the whole thing like this, right? Around the whole thing like that, and make 1 cut, just like that. So if you're shopping for a branch cutter, you know some things to look out for. You've got material, you've got the sizing, and you've got the country of origin. It's good to check on all 3 of those things, especially the country of origin. Some of these brands are a little bit elusive when it comes to exactly where they're made, so it's good to double check that. Alright, so I've included the link to these branch cutters in the description below. I've got links to all the different ones, the carbon steel ones, the stainless steel ones, and all the different manufacturers. If you've got any questions, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.